Hi, I'm Avik Sarkar. I'm a master's student in women's gender and sexuality studies at the University of Oxford. And my presentation is titled Miss Kitty's Glamorous Asymmetries on AIDS Archives and Trans Aesthetics. So first, I'd like to give you a little bit of context about my project. Last summer, I received a research fellowship from the nonprofit organization Visual AIDS, which is based in New York City. Visual AIDS celebrates the work of artists who have passed from AIDS, as well as artists who are living with HIV. And this particular fellowship was to study lesser known artists who have been lost to the pandemic. So I decided to research the life and work of a visual and performance artist and gender nonconforming artist named Miss Kitty Litter Green, who was based in San Francisco. And to conduct my research, I used the fellowship funds to travel to San Francisco to visit two archives, the GLBT Historical Society, as well as the Louise Lawrence Transgender Archive, which is located in Vallejo, California, just outside of San Francisco, and is one of the only specifically trans archives in North America. And I just wanted to highlight each of these organizations because they all do really fantastic and important work. So to tell you now about Kitty, Kitty was an artist whose work centrally focused on questions of gender nonconformity. So I really love this poster on the right from an open studio that she did the year before she died. And her artist statement, part of it reads, "I am a traveling hermaphrodite storyteller, the fool, the minstrel. My art has always been about portraying the glamorous, asymmetrical beauty of androgynous peoples." And then in an interview that she did for a newspaper, she remarked that freaks are always asymmetrical. So here she kind of lays out the themes that really run through her quite prolific body of work, glamour and glitter. Asymmetry in her form and composition, and the figure of the hermaphrodite or the androgynous body. And so that I think is exemplified in this painting, which is one of my favorite pieces by Kitty. It is titled My Hermaphrodite Spirit Sister. Although interestingly, Kitty also referred to this painting as a self-portrait in an interview that she did with a drag zine, excuse me. Um, and so I think that, kind of speaks to a tension, interesting tension in her work between the self and the other, and the ways that she consistently blurred the lines between herself as the artist and her subjects, because she was primarily a figure painter. And as you can see here, the transsexual body is placed at front and center in her works. So now I'd like to turn to the later years in Kitty's life. This is a picture of her at San Francisco Pride in 1993. She was already quite ill at this point. She began experiencing symptoms in 1991. This photo was taken by her friend and close collaborator, Dan Nicoletta, who I had the opportunity to interview for this project alongside oral histories from several of her other friends and collaborators. And so in this picture, you can see that Kitty's dress is torn open to expose the catheter attached to her bare chest and connected to her parasol. And she smiles, waving at the camera with her sunglasses in her hand. And this quote on the left, she said in her diary, "Lots of people at the fair were shocked by my tube. I assume this is good. Lots of us fags need to be woken up a little bit." And so, as you can see, this picture, Kitty was invested in bringing HIV into public and making her diagnosis visible. She refused to keep it a secret and refused to carry any shame about, being of having AIDS. And then um, This is Kitty's final work, which I think is quite a haunting piece, and it's the reason why I wanted to study her work in the first place. It's a really ethereal photograph captured by also by Dan Nicoletta, titled Miss Kitty as Angel. And so in this image, you can see, the devastation of the pandemic in flesh and blood. Kitty was extremely ill at this point. She could barely walk up the stairs to Nicoletta's studio, but she was determined to take this photograph, which Dan refers to as her sort of memento mori. And it was made possible by the support of caretakers. And so while we see, the pain and trauma of the pandemic in this image, we're also transported to a different dimension as she kind of transfigures into a celestial being. And finally, to end on a kind of lighter note, these are amulets that Kitty created for distribution at her funeral ceremony and a memorial service. Each was filled with sage, suspended from a rosary and imprinted with her cackling face, almost as if to mock anyone who would dare to forget her. And I'm reminded of this quote at the bottom from Hannah Arendt. 3 minutes before certain death, I probably still would laugh. And indeed, I think Kitty's spirit and humor were one of the many qualities that made her so special as an artist and an advocate for people living with HIV and AIDS, and also trans and gender nonconforming people. And so I'm hoping that this project will speak to the importance of centering trans feminine artists in the cultural histories of AIDS.